That's a mindset. That's the way your brain is wired. You find problems and you want to fix them. So naturally, even in banking, I was frustrated, even though I got into the position where I could impact the organization with processes and optimization. I still felt like, what's my impact? I'm bigger than this. I'm bigger than this bank. I want to impact other banks, but I cannot scale this if I'm employed here. At the same time, around, that was like 15 years ago, startup, I don't know if you remember startup weekends or if you're familiar with that. So it was especially big in the French-speaking countries, and it came to actually Norway as well when I moved. So Startup Weekend was a brand, a franchise, quite all over the world, US and French-speaking countries. It was going through the network of community builders. Okay, so this is how you learn about it. So the concept of Startup Weekend is that you come on Friday night, you pitch your idea to a room of 50 to 100 people who either want to pitch their idea as well or they want to join a company. So I went there with a friend who's also entrepreneur at heart. I had an idea and I went on stage and I pitched it. And my idea, so that was a long time ago before Airbnb, it was basically, what about renting out rooms from your own home? But my angle was luxury homes. It was like, imagine you can go and rent a room in a luxury home. And the feedback I got was like, but first of all, I don't want to rent a room in my home. That first feedback also Airbnb, some of the founders also got, but that was just like not the big picture, getting the big picture. But also for luxurious owners, that was the angle where I was wrong. Owners of big properties and luxurious properties, they were not interested in that. What we were interested in staying at their place, right? Like, why would I have a stranger?
They don't need the money, right?
I don't need the money. I was completely off.
Yeah.
And so I still got like a few votes because people come to you and vote. They give you like their name. So you can build a team. Then after me, so I only got like a few names, not enough to build a team. And you could only have like, I think, a certain amount of companies that would start on Friday night. So there was another company that I ended up joining that worked like for a year and a half and like co-founder issues, and they moved to Paris and they left me on the side in Geneva. And that company, which of course was not going to work, and I still see startups today, founders pitching me that idea. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe it will work today. Never say never, but I've done that, been there, stupid idea. Okay, hard to get off the ground. Sorry, never say stupid idea, but our idea was stupid. So, but you get so fired up and convinced that this is it, everybody's going to love it. And this is it, unicorn status. So the app was going to give you, based on an algorithm, tailored to what you need and questions that you answer.
Algorithm was the AI back in the day, wasn't it?
It would give you like four events happening in your city this weekend, so you can join. I mean, yes, okay, and I still see companies, founders who pitch me this idea because, I mean, it's true that maybe it's Friday night and you're like, what should I do tonight? I wish I could just get recommendations. But the way you monetize it, and there are so many other platforms right now, so we have to think about all these challenges. Not all problems are worth solving, okay? And if you cannot figure out the way to monetize it, maybe drop it. Okay, we're going to talk about like maybe Facebook. They didn't monetize for so long, but not everybody's Facebook. Okay, Facebook is one of a lifetime opportunity. And yes, there are many platforms that started by gaining users and so on. But if you really want to be sustainable, for these kind of platforms, we need a strong network of VCs, of investors, of crazy investors that will believe in that vision. I am sorry, there are not enough investors like that. There are maybe in Silicon Valley. That's it. If you are in Europe, you need to start making money or go to the US and bet on yourself, build your network. So yeah, that's how I started to do the transition, got into Startup Weekend. And this kind of, honestly, it's a great concept. It should happen again, these startup weekends.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
From Friday night, you don't sleep until Sunday where you pitch. So you're like all together figuring out. Okay,
so you get a real sense of what it's like to be a founder very quickly.
Yeah, it's like you sleep maybe 3 hours, on Friday night and on Saturday night. And you have to pitch to a jury of, startup founders and investors. And you're voted best startup, okay? And then you win a little prize and you continue your journey if you want to. So that got me hooked. And then I have friends who also wanted to start companies. So I started with them. And I quit, twice my job in the banking sector to try for 4-6 months a company with this one, join a startup to learn from there. So I just got hooked like many when you start the journey. And 10 years later, I'm still part of the ecosystem and helping founders actually avoid the mistakes I experienced.
It's addictive, right? But what brought you to the startup weekend in the first place? Was it something someone recommended to you? Had you been keeping an
Yeah.
eye on it? Yeah,
So I had like a few friends who have wanted to go into like, entrepreneurship.
right,
And that startup weekend happened in the university. Yeah.
right.
So it was promoted at the university and we just joined. We're like, why not? Let's do
Fair
it.
enough.
Maybe we're the next something.
Yeah, the next big thing. That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. They should definitely do something like that again. That's
Yeah.
it's like a hackathon almost. It's like
Exactly.
yeah, like a
Startup
startup
weekend.
hackathon. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who founded it, Frank, he's French actually. He was in the US when he started it. He's still around in the ecosystem. So that was a great, 3 intense days to build a company.
Well, maybe
We
something
started
that
it.
someone will bring back eventually. We'll see. And so then, what was your first kind of proper, would you say, startup job? Because you said you did a few bits here and there, but what would you consider sort of almost, I don't know, resume worthy? Was it your CCO role that you
Um,
first got, or something else? Would you say?
Yeah, I would say I was part of as a CEO a few months in a company in Norway, Share My
Hmm.
3D,
Hmm.
that got acquired actually by a Norwegian unicorn today.
Wow.
But I left. I left because we didn't have any more money to pay me, and I did not get during that period of time to get my options. But I also know that transaction after I left was just symbolic because the founder, who's a genius, was also the co-founder of Cognite. Today, it's a unicorn. So that was just like, okay, this company is going nowhere. And also, like, again, that was too futuristic, even though we got investors from, Startup Lab was one of the investors, which is a big one here in Norway, incubator, accelerator, and network of investors. Even though we got them on board, it's not because you get investors that actually your product is gonna succeed. The market will tell you, and we struggled with the market. It was too futuristic. This was, and too niche. This was 3D visualization, an algorithm that could help you visualize 3D objects in the cloud. Like, so specific. The guy invented that and it was like, okay, now go to market. We're like, okay, let's try.
Yeah.
Okay, he got one company, a museum, to buy that because they had like some virtual object they wanted to showcase on their online shop, or I don't even, yeah, online portal. But after that, no one else was interested.
That's the
So
problem with being too intelligent in the startup world, is that sometimes you create things that are just beyond what the market needs. And at the end of the day, you should ideally be speaking to the market first and then figuring out what it is they need, rather than the other way around. I've worked with a couple of founders like that too, and a couple of products too. I'm like, this is really cool. This is really interesting, but I don't know anyone that needs this.
yeah.
You can't invent the problem later after you've created the solution. It doesn't work.
And also, one client is not enough, it's not
Yeah.
a strong signal. Two, not enough. Three, not enough. You need to have like validation from 50 who
Mm.
will tell you, I'm ready to buy this. I'm actually so interested. I'm giving you some money today so you can deliver in 6 months, because the problem I have is so huge, so painful. I want to make sure that 6 months is nothing, to wait for. I can pay today to make sure I get it amongst the first ones in 6 months. And this is when you're like, okay, this is actually the strategy we apply in my company. We sell products where we get today the funding from the clients to deliver in 6 months. If we are not creating anything before the clients is paying.
Yeah, I tell a lot of founders that constantly, that you don't need to have your product ready before you start selling it. Like, you'd be amazed how many times you can sell something before it's ready. If it's good enough, people will wait, and
Yes.
or at the very least, even if they don't pay for it early, they might give you a letter of intent, and that is
Yes.
still good. That's still pipeline.